Three, two, one. Hey everybody, this is Victor. I am here with Joe. We're going to be doing an update video here. The interview's so nice, we had to do it twice. So if you all didn't catch it the first time, we had an interview with him, with Joe, talking about how he went from wholesaling to his first flip. On this video, we're going to be talking about how Joe actually completed, closed, finished his first real flip. And we made, I think, together about 18K net profit. How are you doing?
Hey, doing good, doing good. Thanks for having me on again.
I'm glad you're here. What's really cool is we see the before, we see the after. Like we see you as you're going through the journey. And this deal closed. Was it last week? Or do you remember when it closed? Like last Monday? I can't
Um,
remember specifically.
it closed on the 4th, so it's
Okay,
2 Fridays ago. Yeah.
2 Fridays ago, so pretty recently.
Mhm.
Fantastic. So where we left it off last, I think we were still about to buy it, if I remember. Like we were under contract and we were going to buy it. Um,
Mhm.
does anything stand out in your mind with like the buying process? Did that go off without a hitch, or what were some of your thoughts like as we were about to buy it?
Um, so you mean like our A to B transaction with Donna? Is that what you're
Exactly. Yeah.
saying?
So were there any like hiccups with the closing on the purchase, or how did that go?
No, I would say a big takeaway from that is that we closed the deal subject to.
Right.
So the mortgage still needed to get paid, and luckily, Donna, the seller, is a personal friend of mine,
Mhm.
so we were able to coordinate the payments with her, each month accordingly. But let's say that we had maybe contacted her from a cold call or a referral or whatever the case is, then that kind of leaves it open to, okay, are we going to trust this person every month
Mhm.
that we're paying them and then they're turning around and paying the mortgage? Because if you don't know them from anyone else, they that was kind of something I didn't think about until we kind of got to the closing table and we were like, oh yeah, we do need to continue making the payments. How should we go about doing that? And so in the future, I'm going to be more prepared for that. If I ever come across a subject to deal,
Mhm.
that's just a little something like I would probably probably even draw up a document like between them and I, and maybe get the online account info to go ahead and just pay it ourselves, or something different. But that was one thing that I remember at the closing. The I also remember Donna was expecting to net $15,000,
Oh,
which
right.
was a bit of a discrepancy. She had some back taxes, and then just traditional the title agent fee, and just
Mhm.
it came. There was an additional 2 grand or so that we covered. You were nice enough to cover, and then work into the deal and stuff. And so um, that was something that happened at the title company at the closing. You kind of want to get those things squared away before you get there. So that was probably my bad on communication, being like as the middleman. Um, so what else? Our title company um, got the job done. Or, what else can you say? Not all title companies do subject to closings. Just
Mhm.
for other investors out there watching, if you've used the title company for a lot of times and everything is all great, but you get a subject to deal, you really want to make sure that they're able to handle it. It's just a little bit different, um, the way that it goes down. So our um, closing agent, Jose Moreno, was able to get it done. But at the same time, he is a lawyer. They do have other closings, and it's not a typical deal that comes across their plate every day. And so I did find, that we had to kind of, stay on top of the deal. That's just a
Mhm.
great tip for investors out there. Like, it is not done once the contract is signed and sent off to title. Like, there's no way the deal would have gotten done if Victor wasn't on top of it with them, and had an email thread and extra follow up. I called into their office a couple times. I think we hit them with the double whammy a couple times, like the email and the call, and then like oh, sorry, did my business partner already talk to you?
That's right. Yeah.
And stuff like that, because it's our it's our top priority to get this deal closed, and
Mhm.
it's their like one of their weird deals where they have like 10 things they're doing at one time. You know what I'm saying? So like again, same thing with her expecting more. Like there's some title companies out there that'll give you a preliminary closing statement, you know, a few days out, like 3 or 4 days, so that everyone can review it and then they can make changes and stuff. So that kind of happened at the title company with us. So that was a good lesson,
Hmm.
you know. But like I said, at the end of the day, they got it close. So what more can you ask for? They did a great job. You know, that was a good experience seeing the whole subject to closing and how all that worked.
Hmm. I mean, there were a little bit of speed bumps, but I think we handled it. And I think we ended up paying a little bit more because she was going to walk away with that 15. So we knew our numbers, so we could just, we can offer to pay a little bit more. So that worked out. And then I'm with you. So a lot of people, especially when they're getting started and they're working on their first one, it's not just, hand it off and it's like, okay, cool, take care of the rest. It's like you got to follow up. You got to stay consistent on them. You might even feel like you're following too much, where you're pestering them, where you're talking to them maybe every day or every other day. And that's totally okay. I'd rather you over communicate than not communicate enough and then it falls through. I've heard that happen a lot. Luckily, it hasn't happened to me or you, I don't believe, but I know it does happen where you under communicate and then something happens and it just becomes a thing and it just doesn't happen. So I'd rather you over communicate for sure.
Totally. I mean, I'm not to go off topic here, but I actually had a deal this morning. I have a closing today, and the
Hmm.
title company emailed me and said that because there's a tenant in the property that we're buying, and so he said that he didn't want to give up the security deposit, which is states in the contract transfers over, and he didn't want to prorate December's rent since he's
Hmm.
owned it for 2 weeks and I'll own it for 2 weeks, and I basically he said I'm not going to show up to the closing. Like this is BS. And I called him and I was basically like, you come at it from two angles. Like one, hey man, you're a grown man and you signed this contract. Look in section 4B and you're going to be there. But that really doesn't work based on experience. Like to be honest with you, what I did was I just told him I want to give you a scenario and just hear me out. If you were renting from somewhere and you gave somebody a $1,500 security deposit and then they sold the property and then when it's time to move, they kept it in great shape and did everything they said they were going to do. And the new buyer says, I never got $1,500 from you. I'm not giving you that. Where is that money at? So it transfers with the sale of the home if it's in their contract, in their lease. So he understood and he said, when you put it like that, I can see, and I do see it here in the contract. And so I'll go ahead and I'll come to the closing today. So that was a win for me that I had today, and a good example of exactly what we were just talking about.
I think that's spot on. I think that's a good way to handle it. I've never seen like the chest beating, like you better show up or else. I've never seen that be successful.
Nah,
You have to
it
be
doesn't.
more masterful about it for sure.
But
So that's how we bought the property. Couple of speed bumps, but we handled it really well. So that's thanks to, I know you thanked me, but that's thanks to both of us because we both were on top of it. And I like how much like you follow up and you're consistent, like, hey, how's this going? So that's really good. So I
mhm.
definitely recommend others do that as well for like consistent follow up. What about like just can you kind of talk to us briefly about the renovation process? Whatever details you want to fill in, I can fill in the rest there, like how the renovation go.
Yeah, sure. So I think we talked about it on the last call. I won't say like the exact same stuff, but it really does come down to like the GC that we had. Like, he was one, really good, and two, readily available. And like we closed on the first one like September 22nd, that the A to B closing, and then the demo started, or rehab started on the 27th, which I think you said like we got a delay here or something, and then it started right away too. So not really that much of a delay, but
Mhm.
it was really cool. And then he was in and out. We sold, like we said, we sold on, that was September 27th, and then we closed on December 4th on the other end. So I think rehab was done even before that, but I think it was like, was it 5 weeks of rehab? I think an
That's about
extra week
right.
we had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was just around the 30 day, like roughly a month, roughly. I don't know if it was give or take, but it was, so nothing crazy. And I think for rehab, it was like paint, flooring, new kitchen, new roof, and that, nothing crazy. Like it wasn't extensive full gut job. It was pretty cosmetic, honestly.
Right. And those are, correct me if I'm wrong. Those are like the flips that you try to buy. I mean, that we're looking for, right? You know, certain investors are looking for certain things, but yeah, I found that way easier than, you know, I've heard other people who are doing full rehabs, and the more you're peeling the house back, the more that they're finding under there, you know, and
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so we really just looked at it at the surface, and there's, I don't know if you know what hoteling is, like
Hmm.
people who just do the bare minimum, you know, to get either rent ready or to flip it. And I definitely don't, wouldn't call what we did that. You know, we improved the integrity of the home. It's not, yes, there's lipstick on it, you know, and it looks great. But it has stronger bones now too, right? So that was part of the contingency for our new buyer, was to get the property replumbed. And what else? I think they wanted, was it, because I know we had one buyer go out of contract because they found another home that they loved in the middle of it. So
That's right.
which one was it that wanted stainless steel appliances? Was
Yeah.
it both
So
of them?
no, no. So actually, it was a second. So what happened? So renovation went pretty good. You know, went great. Like no real nothing really to report there for the renovation. Got done on time. You know, for the most part on budget, and I can talk about that. Then we staged it and listed it. And the first time we listed it, within I think 2 days, we got a above price offer. So they were offering like way above price, but they had a lot of like repairs requests, and then they wanted stainless steel appliances, and they had like this laundry list of things. And that's right, yeah, and that's potentially fine because they were paying extra. So if they're going to pay extra above
Right.
asking, and they have this list of requests, I'm like, oh, okay, great. A week or two into it, they they found another house that they were interested in. That's a long story, but they found another one. So they did the inspection, and then they found another house, and they backed out of ours. And they're like, okay, cool. So we relisted it. We found another buyer. This one was a cash buyer, and he wasn't as picky. So that's what happened there. But we did have it under contract once, and then it fell out, and then we put it back on the market and got someone pretty quick. So that worked
Yeah.
out as well.
Yeah. I think the funny thing about that is, like I was saying, it when you look at it versus overpaying and with all the contingencies versus like a cash deal right under asking price, they kind of almost balance it out when you look at the numbers. It's
Hmm.
funny because it's two very completely different offers. You know, like um, the contingencies that they had. So
Hmm.
that was kind of cool to compare those. And I was telling my buddy too, because you know, you are my business partner in this one, and in two transactions, but also, you know, look at you as a mentor. And so I was telling him, I said, Victor probably made up the first buyer, or told them to back out or whatever, for a learning experience for me, so I could see how everything goes. He just wanted me to feel how it feels to have our over asking price pulled off the table.
That's funny. That's funny. I didn't even think about that. No, I uh, just to make it tough, just so you learn something. Um, no, I wish. No, they just backed out, and it was a good learning lesson, anyways. I think
It
that's,
was. It was.
and I know we were talking about it before we hopped on here, but it wasn't a perfect deal. And you were asking like, what percentage of your deals go perfectly? It's like 0% of the deals go perfectly. And that's part of it. So you know, it took us. I mean, we were on time, and we were, you know, but we didn't have the first buyer back out who was going to buy the place. And with flipping, especially, like it almost never goes according to plan. Like you set up a plan just so you have goalposts, but it doesn't go according to that. So I think that's also a good
Mhm.
lesson. You just gotta, like, you know, be pushing in the right direction, be making progress is the biggest thing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And how, you know, we had the numbers. We talked about this in the first video. We looked at this deal for like 9+ months, and, you know, luckily the numbers stayed the same, and the market trend stayed the same in that area, and everything for our numbers to work out. But that's the cool thing. Like, as an investor, if you have a property and you're confident in your numbers, a deal
Mhm.
is a deal, right? Like, if none of those things, let's say that someone came in at 138, or I guess I don't know if we talked about the numbers, but over asking price, um, all cash, right? And it's a quick, easy flip deal, versus the, you know, someone coming in at the one, a little bit under, like we were talking about,
Mhm.
um, and just making it that much easier. Um,
Yeah, I
Kind
think
of lost it.
we basically went through two options. So one was like a finance option, and that was the over asking price with a ton of contingencies. They ended up backing out, and then we ended up going with another offer that came in once we relisted it for cash for a little bit under, and we figured that was quick close. Not a lot of headaches, so we went with that. I think this was overall it was a really good deal. I think initially we were thinking 29K net profit. It became 18K. And what happened there, we sold for a little bit less than we wanted. And then the repairs became a little bit more than expected. So we had to do a repipe, which is about 4,000, 5,000, replumb the house. And I think that was pretty much because our initial renovation budget was 30,000. We ended up being 37,000. But again,
Right.
I think it's a good learning lesson. Like we still made a profit. We still made money on the deal, and quite a bit. I don't know anybody who would turn down 18,000.
No, not at all. And sorry, I lost my train of thought. That's exactly what I was getting at. Thank you.
No, you're good. Yeah. Any other like learning lessons on this deal?
No. I, I just feel way more confident. Even walking a property and guesstimating the numbers. Because of what we just talked about. Like I'm not a plumber, and I didn't, I looked at the made sure it was PVC versus galvanized, but I don't know that the property needs to be replumbed. And so it comes down to, well, are you going to call your plumber every time you're about to buy a property? No. So it does the numbers work enough for this still to be a deal if my guesstimate is off, give or take, and that was the cool thing, because that before the unknown, that kind of that question mark is what was holding me back from, really pulling the trigger. Like even if I had partners who were like, hey, Joe, I know you're an investor. You find a property, I'll fund it. Let's go. And I wasn't ready to do that with someone else's money just yet. Until I was confident walking a property and guesstimating the rehab with it still being a deal, even if I was a little bit wrong. That was one of the main takeaways. The other thing too is like our email thread that we had from day one. That kept the deal extremely organized. I was looking, I think we had 74 emails on one thread.
I think so, yeah.
And then we have like another 20 something with the title company from between both deals. So, almost 100 emails for one flip. So like again, for people who are wanting to, they're like, yeah, I got a badass contractor. I just got this flip and it's going to be done in a few months or in 30 days. It's like, that's not the end of it. It takes 100 emails to get the deal done, and everything is documented. We can go back at any date and find, whatever document we need. And of course there's other ways to do that, but I think it worked out great. And so obviously before and after pics, it's like a rookie thing, but something you don't really think about. Like you start remodeling, like, oh crap, I don't have the before pics. You want to show your stuff off. So we have those, which is cool. And it's added to your portfolio, right? It's another one under your belt, and it's a first one, under my belt, and I have pictures from it. Like it's results, I can, and believe it or not, there's sellers out there who want to see your work before they sell you the property. Like I've had people like, what are you going to do with my property? Like if they inherited it or they care about the neighbors or whatever, what's the extent of your rehabs? What's my house going to look like when it's done? And so now I have something that I can, show and be like, this represents me. So that was really cool. Let's see. The other thing threw me off is random, but I think the very first thing you did after we closed was you emailed me 3 months worth of property insurance. You got the property insurance.
Yeah.
And I was looking at that email. I was kind of staring at it. I was like, uh-oh. It's like the very first thing he did I hadn't already thought about. So, because I'm thinking like I might learn a few lessons during this, but the very first thing I was like, oh shoot, I guess that's step one. Is getting that down. But yeah, I think another thing I learned was because of the square footage of the home, I was thinking that we could get a roof done for like 7 grand, like
Oh,
max,
wow.
like labor
Yeah.
included, everything like that. And then I heard mixed reviews. I heard a flat roof was cheaper. I heard a flat roof was harder. And then what I found out is our roof wasn't flat. It was actually barely peaked, which I talked to 2 roofers that had completely different companies, and they both said the same thing. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's gonna cost you." And I'm like, I'm like, so it ended up being like $9,400 for the roof on, a 900 square foot house. So a surprise. The other landscaping, I think, was like $2,500, and a decent sized lot. Plus, they came back right before we started doing showings and like cleaned it up, which is a lot. I mean, I just didn't know because I've never hired these people, So it was just great experience, because now I can, if someone tries to tell me, hey, that's going to be $4,000 on a smaller lot, I'm going to say no. You know what I mean? I've had this experience with this, so I won't get ripped off by because of the experience with this deal and things like that. What else? I think, did we have to replace the water heater? Was that like a
We did,
grand or
yeah.
something?
Uh-huh. It was, we
Didn't think
thought it was
about.
good,
I
but then
didn't.
we had to replace it. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Stuff like
so
that.
that came about, and then replumbing it, which is cool, because now we know that it's just, even if we didn't get it replumbed, the new owners wouldn't have been as happy. And we close either way, but the house is better off, the way it is, and it's just a win-win, which is, that's what I like to do with my business.
Hmm. That's what I like too. So it was a win-win, win-win, right? Because it was you winning, me winning, the new buyer winning, the person we bought it from, who we did the subject to, Donna, she was winning. I mean, there's like so many parties, and I can keep on listing. Appraiser, inspector, general contractor, all that
Totally.
stuff.
The neighbors,
The neighbors.
just add,
Yeah.
because that, if you remember that road, it has a few really nice updated houses, and it has a few older ones that really need it. So we improved that block, and then I know 2 or 3 streets over, it's a good flip area. So we contributed to that as well, for
Hmm.
sure.
So it's a nicer neighborhood. So like everyone's winning, and then I mean we made a profit too, so we can't discount that. So so you learned a ton on this deal, which is fantastic. Because I know you wholesale currently full time. Are you thinking, like, do you want to start adding in some flips? Are you happy with the wholesale? Like, what are your thoughts there?
And it's tough for me, because anytime I do something, I just want to do it like 100% and give it all my attention and time and effort. And in turn, I see that's what you like to do. You turned it into a business, right? Like, you're not just a flipper. You have a company and a business with it, more so. But I think that flipping can be a great asset to anyone's business, man. People who have 9 to 5s, I mean, anything. If you have the right people in place, as far as, and go find them. Don't use that as an excuse, like, oh, I don't have the people. But like, if you can network with the right people and get a coach and join Facebook groups and things like that, you can do it. I don't really like the word side hustle, because of the reason what I just told you, but you can do it. Like, have your contractor in charge, and if he is trusted or whatever, you stay on top of him. You can do it with another job, or you can do it at, I plan on continuing my wholesale business, and I'm also a realtor. I want to help at least 25 families this year get into their dream home, or sell their current home. And that's my goal. And I think I can still do flips while I'm doing that, without taking my time away from anyone else, or my own. So I plan on definitely picking up at least, I hope, like, I did my goals for 2021, and I put 5 flips.
Nice.
So I want to do 5 flips this year, and we'll see where I'm at, in the summertime, and see if I can get it done.
There we go. And I like it. I like it that you use that, because you're also a realtor, also wholesale. It's just another tool in the tool belt. Like, if you see a nail, you have the hammer, and the hammer is the flipping in this example. It's like you can use this specific tool. So maybe a deal is a little bit too tight to wholesale. Like, what if I just take it down myself, flip it, and there we go. Then everybody wins. So I really like that mentality. Like, yes, I don't have to just do flipping. you can, add it to your tool belt and do some other stuff. So I really like that mentality. That in mind, I think I asked you this last time, but would you recommend others work with me as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, man. Like I was saying, I met you through an acquaintance, but I know that you have your Facebook group going,
Mhm.
and you are offering the help. And I think like when people are out there, what more can you really want? I remember when I was starting out, and you don't want to bug people, right? You don't want to ask people like for their time, and you feel like you're a nuisance to people and stuff. Like you're out there and you're providing it to people, happily. And so if you come across someone like that, if people get to come across you and they're looking to get into the business, I definitely recommend them working with you. And they're gonna, we made a great profit on the property. Again, like you said, depending who you talk to, I don't think anyone would turn down an $18,000 flip. But the experience that I got was insurmountable. So if people out there, get the experience, get a coach, take action, which is what we talked about last time.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm reading a book right now. It's kind of talking about this. You think when you get introduced to somebody, you think about the person who introduced you, right? If you take a step back, think about the person who introduced you to that person, and the person who introduced you to that person. So if someone who comes across an opportunity, to work with you, Victor, and they are on the fence about it, I would definitely, say take a step back and look at the best case scenario and the worst case scenario, and 10 times out of 10, they should go for it and take action. And you're here to help them. So I definitely recommend people work with you.
Absolutely. And I appreciate the kind words as well. I think that's a good way to look at it. What's the name of that book, by the way?
It's who, not how. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, and it's basically just about, delegating all the right things at the right time to, um, make your business a success and your life more of a success. You're buying back more of your time. And so
Mhm.
it's tough because hiring out, especially like people like us who are go-getters, it's tough to delegate things, right? Like we
Right.
want to be in control of everything, but leveraging out parts of my business, it's already helping me um, to scale even towards the end of this year. And there's been a couple other books I'm reading with the same premise, and I have mentors who are kind of preaching the same stuff to me, and so it's all coming together. But yeah.
Perfect. Well, sounds good. Well, again, I appreciate you taking the time and doing this case study video with me, excuse me. Glad we could capture you in a video before and then after, like what you've learned. And then if you're open to it, once you get that 5 flips for next year for 2021, I'd love to do another one with you, like what you've learned and how it went, all that good stuff.
100%, man. I'd love to do it.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thank you everybody for joining.